Good evening, Mr. Patterson. I am the IB Math AA, SL, and HL teacher. This is the back to school night video for year 2, so your son or daughter should be in their second year of IB. They also had me last year as well, so hopefully I'm a familiar face for you. I've really enjoyed working with them over the last year, and I'm really looking forward to this year as well. They're great kids, they work hard, and they're really just a pleasure to be around. Our objectives here for this video, for this back to school night video, are to introduce the course, its curriculum, and assessments. Obviously, you're familiar with the course, familiar with the way that it works, but obviously there are some differences going on in the fact that we are starting remote. Hopefully, we'll end up hybrid and full in school at some point in the near future as well, for the students and for my sake too. The IB mission statement is one that you have seen before. Nothing really new here, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide, other than to say that it's something that we believe in. It's something that we strive to meet and try to give the students the best education that we possibly can, and that goes for the IB learner profile as well. The students came in with a lot of strengths in these categories, and hopefully over the last year and into this year, we're continuing to grow in all of these areas. The year 1 topics, what we talked about last year, are up on the screen right now, and those are basically, what most people would consider pre-calculus topics. A lot to do with functions, some trigonometry, and the HL did some extra topics looking at reasoning and proof and linear algebra as well. Going into this year, we're starting off the year right into calculus. HL does have one complex numbers chapter to go through as well, but then both groups will be in calculus, and we'll spend quite a bit of time there before we end our content talking about statistics. Both of those topics are very rigorous and at times will challenge the students, but together we'll get through it. Also in this fall, we're going to be talking about our internal assessment. The next slide is on that, so I'll kind of hold that conversation for then. But generally speaking, we'll start talking about it in October. We'll have a rough draft in December, and then a final draft about middle of January. We should also be able to have a considerable amount of review time for the external exams, of which there are 2 or 3, depending on whether your son or daughter is in SL or in HL. Speaking of the internal assessment, it's a 12 to 20 page paper. Last year they wrote a shorter version of an internal assessment, and that is going to guide them a little bit into this conversation. And in addition, it's kind of meant to allow students to explore a topic of interest that they have in mind. And over the last course of, I believe it's 4 or 5 years, I can't remember, at this point, I've seen quite a few different topics out there, some of which I've kind of learned that we should steer clear of, and others of which are really, really strong. So hopefully I can help your son or daughter choose a topic that is interesting to them and also likely to lead to them being successful. There are plenty of examples out on the web. However, you should be aware of the fact that the guidelines have changed for the internal assessment, and this group of seniors are the first group going through with these new guidelines. Not too much has changed, but the paper's length has grown considerably to 12 to 20 pages. The external assessments are either 2 or 3, depending on HL versus SL, and the HL has paper 1, paper 2, and paper 3. For both groups, their paper 1 is non-calculator based, paper 2 is calculator based, and the HL only paper 3 is a 1-hour calculator based exam. We're still talking about TOK, we're still talking about how we know math, and we're talking about how that applies to different settings. Controversial findings, we talk about that with statistics a lot. Because there's a lot that's to be said about that conversation. Similarly, international minus is something we talk a lot about. We talk about where the math is coming from, who these mathematicians were, what their time was like, what their culture was like, and that's important for us. We live in a global society, so we want to make sure we understand where this math is coming from, but also how to use math in a global society now. As you know, this course is very challenging, and the students are encouraged to seek out that extra help all the time. While we're in this remote setting, the extra help session is the last block of the day, 2:14 to 2:59. So far, the students have always been great about reaching out for extra help, and I expect them to be kind of doing the same this year when we get to the more challenging topics. My expectations, so first, my goal is for students to understand math and how it plays a role in their current and future lives. My hope is that they'll be successful in the course and earn a passing score on the IB exam. And most importantly, my expectation is that they'll put forth the effort necessary to be successful in a college level course. Contact information is on the screen now. Email is preferred for me, but if you want to leave me a voicemail, that's fine. I can get back to you that way too. And most importantly, I want to thank you guys. Thank you for supporting your son or daughter to help them reach their potential. And thank you for being an active participant in their education. If you need anything, reach out to me. I'm very good at getting back to you. This has been a great first year with this group of students, and I'm looking forward to another great year with them as well. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.